Joining us right now. He has served under so many presidents, now the Harris campaign senior advisor. Gene, very good to have you. What's at stake for her tonight? She has to spell out not only her economic vision, which is your specialty, but it's a delicate dance, right? Because a lot of Americans aren't feeling the recovery she's talking about.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because when you look at her first economic speech, one of the things she did was she did not spend a lot of time going through what she could have, the various economic facts of why lots of areas of inflation are coming down. What she said instead was, I get you. I get you thinking that meat prices are higher than they were in the pandemic, and I am going to be a person who takes on powerful interest to lower those prices, whether it is people doing nefarious things to keep grocery prices from coming down, or taking on big pharma to lower prescription drug costs, or taking on big oil. So she made a very strong message that she is focused on how people are feeling and taking concrete action to lower their costs that are making people struggle right now.
But do you really think,
rents,
though, Gene, that they do that some of these food companies are doing sinister things like rigging prices? You know, your old colleague Jason Furman, who was an economic advisor as well to Barack Obama, says it's more about supply and demand, that this is not a sensible policy, referring to what Kamala Harris introduced. And I think the biggest hope is that she intends for it to be more rhetoric than reality. That's coming from a top Obama economic official who said it was silly.
Yeah, well, he's wrong, but that's okay. But listen, let's stay with your initial question about what she is doing tonight. I can go through the details of why she's focused on nefarious action. It's not about controlling prices. But the more important thing that she'll do tonight is talk about her biography, who she is, who she fights for. And what you're going to see is a person who, as a prosecutor, as an attorney general, took on powerful interests to help middle-class families, people being hurt. And what she is doing in her economic speech as well is letting people know, I will not hesitate to take on a major corporate interest that is taking advantage of you and exploiting prices during a crisis.
That is not
Nor
happening.
will I be afraid to take on prescription drugs to help lower prices, to have the negotiations that brought down insulin to $35.
I know, Gene, but on the food thing, you know it's a silly argument. You just know it's wrong, right? When the Washington Post says it's gimmicky, when the New York Times says it's unrealistic, do you think that's wise for her to do tonight?
Neil, thank you, but you just made up stuff. You didn't listen to the words she said. What she said in that speech was, first, I will work with business to work for top American goals like affordable housing. She announced a new tax cut.
No, she talked about price gouging, Gene. That's what I'm talking about. She's saying, Gene, please just answer my question. She's talking about price gouging. I understand the other stuff you mentioned. Do you really think food companies are price?
Neil, we just heard.
Do you think food companies are price gouging? Gene, I'm not lying to you. Do you think price gouging is going on?
Neil, I do think that there are nefarious actors in crisis who have taken advantage of things. And I think it is worth looking at the fact that profit margins in the beginning of this year were at the highest level in 20 years. If you listen to what Kamala Harris said in that speech, she said most companies are good, honest, but there are bad actors. And when there's bad actors, whether they're Corinthian, a company that took advantage of students in the way Trump University did, or prescription drugs companies that raise prices, or groceries that manipulate prices, she, unlike Donald Trump, is going to be the champion of the middle class.
Fair enough, but do you think it is wise to point fingers at others when a lot of it could have come, innocently or not, from this administration of which she's been a key part, and a lot of the spending initiatives had a habit of bringing up prices? Do you think that's possible?
Neil, if you actually listen to her speech, and as opposed to what you were saying, she said what she said.
I listened to the whole thing. I wrote it down, and I got a copy of it here.
Yeah, right, Neil. And did she or did she not say most companies play by the rules, but there are some who do nefarious actions? We have heard there are 40 states, Neil, blue states, red states, that have found it necessary to have a price gouging law, not because they think everything that happens is due to bad behavior, but because you want to have deterrence and the ability to tell large companies you do not buy up water bottles in the middle of the crisis. If there is a new strain that scares us all on some drug, you do not want a company buying up all the masks and then charging $25 for each one. There is virtually nobody in the American public that thinks that's an acceptable thing.
Is there anyone in the American public,
when she is dealing with nefarious actors, as she has done as Attorney General,
so when bacon goes up 20%, when bacon goes up 20%,
who have ripped people off on grocery prices, she is going to be the champion of middle class, and she is going to take them on.
But
and
Gene,
I'm going to talk about what she said and what she proposed,
Do you take any blame,
to Neil,
Gene,
how you are